Hey, good morning, everybody. Welcome in. It is Longshore and McKnight, presented by Bud Light. Easy to drink, easy to enjoy on a cool Tuesday. So glad you are with us, whether you're watching us live here in the morning from 7 until 9 a.m. at yellowhammernews.com, on Facebook, on YouTube. Check us out on Spotify. We greatly appreciate it. Bryan McKnight has the day off today, already scheduled, already knew he was going to be out today, but probably did a little celebrating last night as the Troy Trojans win the Sun Belt Tournament championship game last night against Arkansas State down in Pensacola, Florida. A lot of celebration. I can't imagine as the Trojans win 94-81 in that great big game down in Pensacola. They are the tournament champs. Troy heading to the NCAA tournament, heading to the big dance. So I'm sure a lot of celebrating going on down there around Seville Square, some of the other night spots in the Pensacola area. Not sure Barry stayed out too late, but because I know he had something going on today that he had to take care of. But yet again, congratulations to the Troy Trojans. Great win for them last night, and Sun Belt Tournament champions with that big victory. So I know a lot of celebration, a lot of excitement, and man, heading to the big dance. That is absolutely awesome. Scott Cross and his team, I know they're extremely excited. Good for them and the Troy Trojans. And know we're getting some shout outs on the chat line early today for the Trojans. We really appreciate that. I know Barry will as well. And we appreciate everybody getting up with us early this morning. Our man Chris the Bammer, yep, he's up. We're going to spin the wheel later on. Got a little something different for you, Chris, on the Victorland 777 topic wheel today. And I'll explain that a little bit later on. Ty is up this morning. Hello, good morning. Thanks to you. Bill in Baltimore with a shout out to the Trojans. I know Barry would like that as well. So we really appreciate that. And thank you for getting up with us here this morning. A lot to discuss here today. Gurn Jr. is going to be hopping on from time to time from Network Control up in Nashville, where he makes everything run so smoothly for us. So we'll get into that a little bit later.
John.
Yeah, there he is. Yep. Hey, there's the mystery voice. Everybody's wanting to know, what does this guy look like? You know, that's the nuance. That's the neatness about it. It's like it's like the Wizard of Oz. I mean, who is behind the curtain up there in Nashville?
Exactly, John. Well, coming soon, there will be a face to the name as soon as the SEC basketball tournament. So big stuff coming soon.
Oh, check that. Now, of course, the tournament in Nashville. We're going to talk about that this morning with that kicking off tomorrow. Tournament starting today. And we're going to get into some tournament action with some games today. I think the Big 12, the ACC, the SWAC. I'm sure there's others. I'll go over the list today, but I know a lot of action there. The ACC in Charlotte from the Spectrum Center. I've actually been to that arena. It's pretty nice there in Charlotte. The Big 12 tournament, I got to look that one up. I want to say Dallas, but I'm not sure positively about that. But we'll get into that today as well. And we are going to kind of go over some of the early games in the SEC. I'm going to get Gurn Jr.'s take on it because he will be there. So we mentioned he is in Nashville at Network Control, and he's going to be heading over to the SEC tournament this week. So certainly looking forward to getting his thoughts and insight of what he thinks could be playing out there in Nashville later this week. A lot going on here today on the program, as always. We are going to break down the SEC brackets. Give you our thoughts about that on the eve of the start of that big event. Also talk about the NCAA tournament, which will be next week. And we certainly want you to be thinking about the NCAA tournament. Kind of get your basketball thinking cap on, because the Longshore and McKnight, in conjunction with Yellowhammer News Tournament Bracket Challenge, will be up and running on Monday, March the 17th. That is this Monday. So when we come on the air on the 17th, you will be able to log in and go to yellowhammernews.com, and right there on the homepage, you'll see the icon for the Tournament Bracket Challenge. You'll click it. there'll be some instructions, not many, just a few. You'll submit your name, probably an email address, maybe a cell phone number. And then you'll start picking. And you'll pick the teams. All the teams will be in the bracket because we'll know Sunday afternoon who made the field. We'll have the bracket up there for you. You'll just click it, and that'll be your team, all 64 of them. And as your teams win, it automatically advances you up the bracket. If you lose, there'll just be a gap. And you get points for teams moving up the bracket. And as they move up, the more points you generate, the most points at the end of the contest is going to be our overall grand champion. And is going to be flying away somewhere, wherever you choose, with a $1,000 travel voucher. That's going to get you a lot of places. And if you want to go somewhere even further away that costs a little bit more than $1,000, no big deal. You just cover the rest. But we're going to cover the first 1,000 for you. How about that? And even if you go somewhere that, I don't know, only costs you $500, you'll have a $500 credit to use at a later date. How good is that? Man, it's awesome. Thinking about y'all. So get in on that beginning Monday at yellowhammernews.com. You'll see the icon. Very simple. If you can read, follow instructions, and you can take about 3 minutes out of your day, I think it'll be well worth it. And another great thing about it, you get to see where you are. As the contest progresses, you get to see where you are against everyone else in the contest. See where you stack up. And you can maybe have a little side action with your buddies and say, hey, I bet I have a better bracket than you do. Yes, that has happened many, many times over the years. Do we encourage it? Well, yeah, probably. Why not? Makes it even more exciting. I don't think it's illegal. At least we haven't been told it is. So you do what you like, but make sure you enter in, because once the first game tips a week from this Thursday, which is usually around 11 a.m. in the morning, then you're out. Tough luck. You're not in. Not going to get in because you had a window and we told you. So make sure you get it in by Thursday, the 20th of March, if you want to get in. Sponsored by our good friends at the Montgomery Regional Airport, getting better the more you use it. Check out MGM at flymgm.com for low fares and packages to destinations all over this country and this world. Also, our good friends at Phoenix Physical Therapy. Getting you back in the game is what Phoenix Physical Therapy is all about, with locations throughout the river region, locations throughout the Southeast. So check it out, Phoenix Physical Therapy. Also, River Region Straw, making your property look its very best with premium long needle pine straw. Spring is upon us. Easter's not far off. Make sure your home or business looks its very best during the springtime with the River Region Straw. 669-5959. Call or text Kenny today. And our good friends at the Destin Connection Seafood Market, the freshest seafood delivered daily here in Montgomery, 3750 Norman Bridge Road, or call 288-4272, the Destin Connection Seafood Market. All right, so that gets you updated on everything we got going on with that. Let's talk about the SEC. Well, let me tell you who's coming up today as well, just to kind of give you a lineup of what is happening here on the program. As always, on Tuesdays, bottom of this hour, Bryan Matthews, AuburnSports.com will join us. We'll talk about Auburn as they get ready for the SEC tournament up in Nashville. At the top of the next hour, our man Travis Reier on YouTube, Talking Tide with Travis Reier. That's at 8 o'clock. And at the bottom of the second hour, really looking forward to talking with my friend John Talty. Of course, John was at AL.com for so long as one of their great columnists. He is now with CBS Sports, also 247, as their college sports, as one of their college sports writers. Does a great job. Of course, he's an author of several books, and we'll get John to tell us about that today as well. But certainly looking forward to talking with John and the state of college athletics and college football in particular. So big guest lineup today for you on the program as well. We'll talk about our daily dog in about an hour. Looking forward to talking about that. Little hint, just letting you know. And today we're going to call it the surprise topic wheel, and I'll let you in on it before we move on the show here. I pretty much challenged Gurn Jr. to come up with the topics today on the topic whistle. I do not know the topics, Chris the Bammer. I do not know them. I usually know the topics. I submit the topics to Gurn, usually the afternoon prior to the next day's show. He loads them up on the wheel, and Barry doesn't know what the topics are. So really we spin it, and Barry is seeing it for the first time. Well, today the roles will be reversed. Gurn has come up with the topics. I have yet to see them. So we'll do that later, Chris, so stay tuned. Before we do move on, Gurn, he keeps up with the chats and the timestamps. This might be the earliest entry from Robbie from Greenville at 7:09 in the morning. He says, sorry, I underestimated Coach Cross. Congratulations to the Troy Trojans for winning the Sun Belt title and winning the NCAA tournament. Gurn, is this the earliest Robbie has entered the chat room to your knowledge?
To my knowledge, I think that is the earliest time we have Robbie joining in on the chat. So he must have had his coffee this morning.
Way to go, Robbie. Way to come up with that great chat. Hey, look, Robbie, I've been wrong a couple of times myself. Just a couple, but I have. And very manly of you, Robbie, to face the music and say, hey, I underestimated Coach Scott Cross. We might have to save that post, Gurn, just so Barry can read it tomorrow. He might not believe me if I said that. Ty with, damn, Robbie woke up early today. He sure did. It's a record, Chris and Ty. Glad to have Robbie on the show early today. If we could just get Dennis Mitchell to chime in, man, that would be incredible. All right, Gurn, I've got my SEC tournament bracket up. I'm looking at it. The SEC tournament in Nashville begins tomorrow at 12 noon Central Time. Nashville is in Central Time. The last I checked, I believe it is. There it is. Gurn's got the bracket up there. He's looking forward to being in Nashville. So on Wednesday, Gurn, you got a 12 noon game. And I've been to many SEC tournaments, as I know you have as well. I'm trying to think of all the different locales. Memphis, I remember there was at the Pyramid one year. It's been in Atlanta several times. Nashville, obviously. I want to say there was a tournament in New Orleans one year.
There was.
That
was when I was the ball boy.
In New Orleans, really?
Yep.
Oh, wow.
Yep.
Oh, that's fantastic.
I was the ball boy for the tournament. Yep, that was a
Beautiful.
lot of fun. Oh, yeah.
Man, so you're underneath the goal?
Yep, I was sitting underneath the goal doing wiping all the sweat off and getting everything right for the game. But, yeah, that was one of the cooler experiences I've
I was thinking about you when Grant Nelson was driving to the bucket Saturday over to Auburn.
I will say –
and slipped,
I'll beat your thought. It pissed me off. They were slipping and sliding all over that damn court. And you know what? You need a good ball boy out there with a decent mop to take care of business and make sure they aren't flying all over the court.
Is there any ball boy training? I would think there would be some training of when you need to mop the floor, when you need to run out to get the ball. I mean, there's some training I would expect in something like that.
You wouldn't see that at Alabama. Let's just put it like that.
Oh, I love it. Wow.
You wouldn't see that at Coleman. There's no slick spots.
I hear you. All right, so the first game is tomorrow at noon. And Gurn, I've always called this is the forget about me game. Because in the tournaments I've been to, and you get there for the first round, the team that loses the first game at 12 noon, and tomorrow it's South Carolina going against Arkansas. Arkansas is a 9 seed, South Carolina a 16 seed. The loser of that game, by the time Sunday rolls around, you're kind of thinking, now, who was that team that got beat in the first game of the tournament? Who was that? It's amazing how quickly you can forget about teams that lose. And South Carolina is the 16 seed, looks to be that team that's going to lose and end their season. So that's the forget me game tomorrow, 12 noon on the SEC network, followed by Texas and Vanderbilt. That's a 13 against a 12 seed, Gurn. What do you think about that one? I mean, right there in Nashville, the doors primed to stand their ground in their hometown.
I think they're about to make a run. I think they're starting to look a lot more like a March team than they were expecting in the beginning. I think a lot of people counted them out, but they're now kind of playing their best ball. So they're definitely they're not one to be counted out right now. So.
Yeah, and it's kind of a payback game from that football game earlier last fall when Texas came into Nashville. So Vanderbilt could kind of get back at them at 2 o'clock or 25 minutes. I love how the SEC lists these games. 25 minutes after game one, of course, they're padding a little overtime if possible, or a lot of whistles and reviews and monitor checks and things like that absolutely drive me crazy. So then you go into the night session, and right there at Bridgestone Gurn in Nashville, right there on Broadway, you can leave the arena, go out and get a bite to eat, maybe wet your whistle at one of the watering holes there. There are many of them. And then come back.
Yep, about 30 steps away, and you've got just about any option you could find. So
it's beautiful. And it's awesome. I hope the football championship game ends up in Nashville. When they get that new stadium built there for the Titans, I'd like to see them move the football game there because Atlanta does nothing for me. LSU at Mississippi State. LSU a 15 seed, State a 10 seed. First game in the night session on Wednesday. What has happened to Mississippi State? You know, we got to ask Bart that on Thursday. His alma mater, of course, played for Mississippi State, was on their Final Four team. I just was expecting more out of State this year. There was a lot of noise coming out of Starkville.
They started off super, super strong, and they've just kind of the tracks have fallen off the train a little bit. But maybe they'll make a push. We'll see.
They do not need to be one and done. They do not need to let LSU beat them tomorrow night, 6 o'clock in Nashville. That's the first night session game. And then 25 minutes after that one is the nightcap, which will give us Oklahoma and Georgia. Interesting game. Georgia, I think, kind of caught a little fire there, Gerd. Not so much about Oklahoma. They've been hot and cold. I like Georgia to win that game late tomorrow in Nashville, game 4 of day 1.
I'd say that's a great call. I think Georgia's defense especially is blowing up right now. So
I'm with you.
I see no reason.
All right, so I'm going to go. Here are my first round winners. I'm going to go. Well, I hate to take all the favorites, but I think I am. I like Arkansas to beat South Carolina. The Vandy, Texas game kind of scares me, but I like Vandy. I'm going to go with them. I'm going with State, and I'm going with Georgia. So I'm taking all the favorites, so to speak, in round 1. When we get back from our first break, how will round 2 shake out? We'll go over that as well because I'm sure people are kind of curious what we think about who will be facing Auburn and Alabama on day 3. Yep, the Tide and the Tigers don't play until Friday. We'll get into that when we return. It is the Tuesday edition of Longshore and McKnight, presented by Bud Light. Easy to drink, easy to enjoy. A lot going on today. Want to get your thoughts and opinions? Hit the chat line. Our River Region Straw chat line is up, ready to go. A lot of great input on that already. And you can email us, longshoreandmcknight@gmail.com. That's longshoreandmcknight@gmail.com via our Marguerite's Exquisite Jewelry email inbox. Let's take a quick break. Back with more. Bryan Matthews at the bottom of the hour. Stick around. More to come after this quick timeout. Well, the Crimson Tide and the Auburn Tigers are really hot in college basketball, and so are the deals at Stivers Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram in Prattville. Alabama and Northwest Florida's largest volume Ram truck dealer is Stivers in Prattville. And at Stivers, they have the largest selection of Ram trucks priced at thousands less than other dealers. How about a 2025 Ram Bighorn 4x4 crew cab with savings of up to $15,000 off sticker price? Also at Stivers Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram, they have fantastic savings on the entire Jeep lineup, like the Wranglers and Jeep Grand Cherokees. Head over to Stivers Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram today on Cobbs Ford Road in Prattville, where Price sells cars and trucks.
All right, man, grab a Budweiser and take a knee. It is the best time of the year. It's baseball season. That means sunshine. It means behind-the-back peanut tosses. And it means sharing some cold, frosty Budweisers with your boys. Because there's nothing more American than watching America's game with America's beer. So let me ask you something. Are you ready to bring your A game? Are you ready to cheer every frozen rope down the line and amazing catch at the warning track? Are you ready for pitcher's duels and slugfests? Tell me, are you ready for the thrill of an incredible walk-off victory? I can't hear you. Are you ready for Budweiser and baseball? Then get on your feet, raise an ice-cold Bud, and let's make this season larger than life. Great times are waiting. Get some Bud!
Enjoy responsibly. Budweiser Beer, Anheuser-Busch, St. Louis, Missouri.
Book tee time sooner. Save on every round. That's what you get with the 2025 RTJ Trail Card. Destination golf is closer than you might think. Buy a 2025 Trail Card and save every time you play. Plus, you will be automatically entered into the Trails Loyalty Program. Enjoy 10-day advance reservation privileges at each location. 11-day advanced internet tee times on rtjgolf.com and the RTJ app. Enjoy the benefits of a 2025 Trail Card. It makes for a great stocking stuffer, and you save on every round you play in 2025 on the Robert Trent Jones Golf Trail. 21 minutes past the hour on this Tuesday. Barry out today. Who'll be back tomorrow celebrating that big Sun Belt Conference Tournament Championship as the Trojans beat Arkansas State last night down in Pensacola. Hey, Ty says Nashville seems to be a lot like Las Vegas of the East Coast. Well, one big problem. They don't have casinos in Nashville. You're thinking of Atlantic City, maybe Biloxi. I don't consider Nashville to be like Vegas, nor do I think it's like New Orleans. Certainly a lot of great restaurants and bars and places to go, but a lot cleaner than New Orleans. But Ty, thanks for the chats on our River Region Straw chat line. Gurn Jr. joining me from Network Control up in Nashville. We've gone through round one of the SEC tournament, which begins tomorrow in Nashville. We've got our 4 winners in day one moving on. So, Gurn, we get to day 2 on Thursday. The first game's at noon. I've got Arkansas advancing. They'll take on Ole Miss in that game on noon. And I'm going to take Coach Cal. It's tournament time. I know he's had some issues when he was at Kentucky. Here's a way to make a statement going up against 8-seed Ole Miss, who's been somewhat hot and cold. I'm going with the upset. I think Arkansas beats Ole Miss in the first game on Thursday.
That's an interesting call. I mean, if Ole Miss doesn't play defense, I mean, that's absolutely doable.
Yeah,
Arkansas can get hot for sure.
They certainly can.
I mean, that's not a bad call to me.
Gonna go with the Hogs. Hog calling. Game 2 is going to be. We got Vanderbilt advancing over Texas, so they'll take on Texas A&M. Can I show my gold and anchor down and say Vanderbilt knocks off A&M? I know A&M's been hot, beat Auburn last week, but I'm not sure they can get over on Vanderbilt. Maybe a partial home crowd after Vanderbilt wins game 1. Vandy fans will show up and pack Bridgestone. I'm going with Vandy in the upset over A&M on Thursday.
I love the call. I'm always anchored down, but I will say that A&M defense, they're big.
Yeah, they're big.
It's hard to beat.
You know, you got to pull some rabbits out of the hat in tournament time. There's always a couple of upsets you're not looking for. All right, so I got Mississippi State advancing to take on Missouri in the first game of the night session on Thursday. You know, there again, Gerd, Missouri's been a hot and cold team to me, similar to Mississippi State. I'm not sure what I'm getting. I love the big guards at Missouri. But something just tells me State comes in here, catches fire in the tournament. They beat Missouri. Look at that. I've got 3 games already, and I've got the higher seed winning.
I like the flip up. That's a tough game. That's a hard one to call.
It is a tough one, but I'm going with Mississippi State. to win that game. And on Thursday, the last game on Thursday, Georgia, I've got advancing against Oklahoma. Georgia taking on Kentucky. You know, Gern, it'll be the Nashville will be blue.
It'll be bluer than you've ever seen it.
Yep, it will be bluer than blue.
CATS, cats.
And the Cats have certainly, they've been streaky as well. Can I go 4 for 4 and say the higher seed yet wins again? I can see it. I'm going with Georgia. I'm going with Georgia to upset Kentucky. Every game on Thursday, I've got the higher seed beating the lower seed. I don't know how many other people are going to do that, but I'm going with it.
It's probably not the most popular of takes, but it's definitely possible, especially with SEC play and how it's been lately.
Oh yeah. All right. So then we get to Friday. And the first game is at noon. I don't understand why the number 1 seed's got to play at noon. I know it's about rest time. The winner has more rest before they get to their next game. You wouldn't want them playing at night and having to play at noon the next day or whatever. I get it. But you would think you'd want your number 1 seed in prime time. Anyway, that will be Arkansas by my predictions. Arkansas will be facing Auburn. I think Cal's going to give Auburn all they can handle. But Auburn's not losing 3 in a row, so Auburn wins, maybe closer than the experts predict, but Auburn wins to advance. I'll have, how about this, Gern, an in-state rivalry game for Game 2 on Friday around probably 2:30-ish, Vanderbilt and Tennessee.
That would be it. That would be an epic showdown. I'm praying for that.
You think the Nashville can handle that? The Vols and the Commodores going at it in SEC tournament play?
That'd be a lot of orange, fabulous. Probably. So maybe not as much black and gold as you would hope, but it'd be a lot of orange.
They would need to show out because the orange would be there. All right, then on Game 3 on Friday, I got Mississippi State moving up to take on Florida. Florida's just too good. I love their bigs. I think they could end up maybe winning it all. Who knows? But we're going to go with Florida to upset Mississippi State. Or not upset them. They're going to beat them because Florida's going to be the favorite. So I got Florida winning that one.
If they can keep those bigs healthy, they're going to be a tough run in March.
You better believe it. Then I got Georgia who upsetted Kentucky on Thursday by my prediction. Takes on Alabama. The last game on Friday night, Georgia and Alabama. This one will go about 8 o'clock, 8:30 maybe. I'm going to say Alabama kind of, fiddle farts around, but they are able to win and move on to the semifinals on Saturday. This game will be about probably 2:30 on Saturday afternoon. Alabama taking on Florida. I do not like that matchup. I've got Auburn going against Tennessee in their matchup because I think Tennessee is going to will be able to beat Vanderbilt. I think Auburn can beat Tennessee. I don't think Alabama can beat Florida. I think I got Auburn and Florida playing for the SEC Tournament Championship on Sunday, and I'm going with the Gators to win it all. I just don't know if Auburn can go the distance and win the tournament title as well. I'm not sure Janai Broom's at 100%. We're going to ask Bryan Matthews his thoughts about that here in just a couple of minutes. But I got Florida winning it all. I'm very impressed with the Gators as they get closer and they get they're playing well. They're playing really good. I like Florida. I'm going with them. Who you like?
It hurts me to my gut, but I got to stick with Auburn. They're unstoppable. It's a crazy season. Of course, you're going to lose some here and there, but when it comes to March, I doubt they're going to be anything but spectacular.
Sure,
especially right now. Unless they don't find a way to win without Broom being 100%. But frankly, he hasn't been 100% all season.
Yeah,
he's been hurt and they're still crushing it. So
I'm with you. There again, I think it's going to be a tight one. I really just like how Florida's played of late. I really like their bigs down low. Beat Auburn in Neville earlier, so they've been tested there. But hey, Gurn, you got to go where your money is. Hey, I bet on a lot of teams in my day that I'd really have never liked or rooted for, but I rooted for when I had some greenbacks on them. So hey, I hear what you're saying. If you think they're the best team and they're going to go and they can win for you, go for it. All right, let's take a bottom of the hour break. When we return, we're checking in with Bryan Matthews, auburnsports.com. He'll join us next here on Longshore and McKnight, presented by Bud Light.
Don't miss your chance to win big at Victoryland Casino. Play the latest, hottest, most exciting games around with fun bonuses and big jackpots. Don't miss out on your free play. Stop by Player Rewards today and check out this month's exciting free play promotions. Come see why our players keep coming back. You'll have more fun at Victoryland Casino, where you can be a winner too. Victoryland Casino, located off I-85 exit 22, Shorter, Alabama. Must be 21 or older.
Introducing Budweiser Zero. 0% alcohol, 0 grams of sugar. Full Budweiser flavor. A refreshing alcohol-free brew that tastes like the real thing. Budweiser Zero. 0 alcohol, 0 compromise.
Phoenix Physical Therapy is ready to help patients recover, recharge, and rise. They develop a customized therapy plan for each patient to get them back to enjoying their favorite activities. Their experienced team is committed to providing exceptional care in a professional environment. Whether you're looking to prevent or treat an injury, recover from a recent illness, or recuperate from surgery, schedule an appointment with our clinic and take advantage of our physical therapy, athletic training, workers' comp, and employer solutions service. Experience elevated physical therapy today. Call Phoenix Physical Therapy at 239-9316. That's 239-9316.
All right, welcome back in, everybody. Glad you are with us here on this Tuesday. Barry is, I guess, the day off today. Had already scheduled that even prior to Troy's Sun Belt Tournament Championship that they won last night down in Pensacola, beating Arkansas State. Big win for the Trojans. They are heading to the NCAA tournament. Barry will be heading to the NCAA tournament. So be interested to see where Troy lands and where Barry will be joining us from when that is announced, and he'll be making his travel plans. And we will have some travel plans for you. Before we get to Bryan, let me mention this because I know a lot of people have asked me about it. What about Total Sports travel packages for the tournament? They will have those available. And on Monday, when we're talking about our tournament bracket challenge that we're going to want you to get involved with, we're also going to let you know about the travel packages that Total Sports Travel will offer for both the Auburn, Alabama, and Troy, since the Trojans are in the tournament as well. So they'll have packages available for all of those teams, others as well, because they handle travel for a lot of teams in the SEC as well as Troy. And we'll let you know. And you'll, you can go to their website at totalsportstravel.com over the weekend, probably on Sunday as those are announced. And we'll certainly give you all the information on a Monday as well. But that's one of those things you're going to have to act quickly, because obviously you're going to be heading out of town in like 3 days after the tournament bracket is announced. So we'll get into that, but we'll let you know. But people have asked me about traveling for the tournament, and Total Sports Travel will have that for you. Auburn, Alabama, Troy, and just about anybody else that you root for, they can get you there. All right, let's move on. Our friend Bryan Matthews, auburnsports.com, joining me here today. Bryan, Barry has the day off. Now, he had already scheduled it, but I think Barry was celebrating last night down in Pensacola as the Trojans won the Sun Belt tournament. Barry's not known to kind of let his hair down, but maybe after a big win last night, he partied in Pensacola. Who knows?
May had a few too Mai Tais, maybe. Yeah. I understand. Yeah, big win for Troy. Yeah, going to the NCAA tournament. Maybe we'll see him in Lexington. You never know.
Oh boy, that'd be awesome. Yeah, that would be good. Very excited. Troy heading to the tournament, as certainly Auburn will be. But first off, they're heading up to Nashville for the SEC tournament. We were talking about some of the early matchups tomorrow here on the program, trying to kind of figure out maybe who Auburn would face. Well, I'd love to get your thoughts about that as well. But I guess first and foremost, Bryan, the mindset of this team heading into the tournament, I kind of got the sense, the loss at 8 a.m., the loss Saturday, almost got the sense this team's maybe already kind of looking ahead a little bit. I mean, it's been such a long grind in the regular season. Certainly you want to win. Don't get me wrong. You want to beat your in-state rival, but I think they feel like there's so much more in front of them. Obviously winning the tournament would be great along with the regular season, but what are your thoughts about the mindset of this team just heading up to Nashville before the NCAA brackets were announced on Sunday?
Well, I thought they looked a little tired that last week to me, mentally and physically, because I think, like a lot of teams in this conference, it has been a grind. And for Auburn, especially playing 7 players most of the season, it's really been a grind. And then you lose one of those players again for the same thing that happened a year ago. That can affect some things. So I think they need these days off between, the loss at Alabama and the start of the tournament Friday. I think it's really important for this team to sort of reset and, get some things straightened out before they get into tournament time. Bruce Pearl said that the most important thing in postseason play is having a team that can step up and do things they haven't done in the regular season. I don't know how much step up Auburn has, but they need to show it, starting this week. Pearl mentioned Miles Kelly, going for 30 against Kentucky. Janai Broome had a career high 34 against Alabama. Those are some areas where Auburn has stepped up. And obviously, if you watch the last 2 games from Auburn's perspective, they've got to get better rebounding and defending the perimeter and defending the bucket there when teams drive inside. So they've got some areas they can work on for sure.
Yeah, and I'm with you, Bryan. I think the rest is going to be big. You're right. It's been a long, grinding season. Not only the SEC schedule, but the non-conference schedule has just been phenomenal for Auburn. So, yeah, a little R&R, catch your breath before tournament time, heal up a little bit. And I think this could be big for Janai Broome. I heard the announcing crew that did the game on television Saturday. Their belief was Broome's still not 100%, kind of dragging that leg a little bit. Maybe that shoulder's still a little bummed up. Your thoughts about his health?
Yeah, I think it affects his defensive the most. He's given up too many easy blow-bys there to the basket at times. He's not finishing quite as well around the rim because he's not getting, the full extension, I think, when he goes up. So, I think sometimes he settles for that little fadeaway, which is not a high percentage shot for him, especially when he's not within, 5 or 6 feet. We saw that at the very end of the game, right? He had a shot to win the game in regulation. And, it would have been much better off either driving in, getting closer, or passing the ball, but settled for about, I don't know, maybe a 15 or 16-foot fadeaway and did not drop there. So I think this time off would be good for him. Denver Jones played his tail off defensively against Mark Sears. But, that final play of overtime, Auburn didn't switch. They'd switched the whole game. And to me, that's just mental fatigue, right? You're just worn out and you don't do something you've done the whole time. So it'll be good for them to sort of get their feet back under them.
You mentioned Chad Baker-Mazara. I mean, the guy's a great player. There's no doubt about it. Emotions, we all played sports. I mean, you can certainly get emotional and sometimes it can get away from you. And I know that the staff, I'm sure, has talked to him prior to what happened on Saturday. I just wonder how you get his mind right for what's going to be. I mean, you just can't make mistakes like that from here on out. As you well know, Bryan, you lose, you go home.
Yep. And, if you're Auburn, you're hoping, well, this is his one flagrant 2 for the year, so maybe he's done. We'll see if that's going to hold up or not. But he plays on the edge all season. This is not the first time that he has been in these little scraps that the referees have had to go to the sideline there to check one of his plays, whether it was against him or against an opponent he was antagonizing with there. I mean, it's just part of his game. So yes, he needs to get himself under control. I think every team in the country sees this. Alabama saw it. They used it to their advantage, and they deserve credit for that, right? And he's going to have to face this again and again. So Auburn cannot win an SEC or national championship without Chad Baker-Mazara, right? They have to have him. He's an important piece to this team, but they can't win when he's not, keeping his emotions in check and not taking it, a step too far.
Bryan, you're not the only person that covers Auburn that I've heard make that statement. They got to have him to win it.
Yeah, I mean, he's an important ball handler. He's an important three-point shooter. He gets assists. He plays defense. He gets important rebounds. He's made some really key shots and key stretches of the game throughout the season. So he's not a guy you can afford to just sit out or suspend or make an example of. Maybe if Pearls, that's something he wanted to do in a previous season, it might have worked, but Auburn doesn't have the bench to handle that. You're going to have to find another way to get him to, reset or learn his lesson or whatever the coaches got to do. They've got to do it without taking him out of the lineup, at least not for long.
Yeah, good point. Bryan Matthews, auburnsports.com, joining me here this morning as he does on each and every Tuesday. So what it's looking like, Bryan, that Auburn will be heading to Lexington. That's what I'm seeing. Seems like the most logical spot for them, an arena that they're familiar with. If they win there, which they certainly should, they'll move on to Atlanta. So pretty favorable for Auburn, not having to travel across country. Also favorable for the Auburn fan base to make some trips, easy to get to Lexington and certainly easy to get to Atlanta.
And the beat writers.
Yeah.
Yes, I will be there. I'll be there wherever. But yeah, that would be perfect for Auburn. And I'm not an expert on bracketology, but I read Joe Lunardi, yesterday, and he said that Auburn is still in a great position. I forget the adjective he used to be the number one overall seed still. So we'll see how it works out. Selection Sunday's coming up here in 5 more days or whatever. So, but that sort of seems still to be the top option for Auburn, which would be great. Playing close to home.
Mm-hmm.
They'll probably stack that region with some teams that, are familiar, like a Troy type teams. I think they like to do that.
Mm-hmm.
And then the option is to come home and play, the regional in the regional final in Atlanta, which would be great for Auburn. That would be a huge Auburn crowd there, I believe.
Oh boy. No doubt about that. All right, before we get to the NCAA tournament, though, Nashville is the site this week for the SEC tournament. We were looking at it earlier this morning. Auburn doesn't play until Friday at 12 noon. I've got Arkansas as Auburn's opponent in that game. Your thoughts about that? Who do you think they'll match up with?
I mean, I would not rule out any of the three, to be honest, because I've mentioned this before, but I think South Carolina's a pretty good team. Texas A&M, of course, is a team that has Auburn's number, right?
Yeah.
So that would be a very interesting matchup if it ends up being them eventually in the semi. Well, that would be the quarterfinal, right? But
that would be the semi. If it was A&M,
okay. But yeah, Ole Miss is a team Auburn's beaten pretty good. But I think Arkansas would be the toughest matchup for Auburn of those three. However, if it is Arkansas, they'd be playing their third game in 3 days, and I'll be playing their first. And that type of matchup can be really, really tough for that team playing a fresh team against a team playing third in 3 days. I don't think it's quite as tough when it's a team playing the second game in 2 days, because that team has kind of got one game under the belt. They're kind of firing on all cylinders, coming off a win. So I think that's why some upsets can happen. But if it's that team coming from the first round to round 3, I think it's a really tough matchup.
All right, let's switch gears to football. We always got to talk a little football. With spring practice not too far off. In your estimation, Bryan, what's going to be the most interesting position battles this spring at Auburn?
Yeah, 2 weeks from today is the opening of spring practice. I mean, I guess quarterback is always the most interesting battle. I know people have already proclaimed Jackson Arnold the starter, but I just think Deuce Knight is going to make a run at this and give him a real battle. So I think there's going to be a real competition there, and we'll see what the kid from Stanford could do when he gets here this summer. Will not be here in the spring, but I think he's a really good player too, Ashton Daniels. And then I think running back is as wide open as it could possibly be. Damari Alston is the sort of heir apparent, the number 2 guy the last 2 years, but they got a good freshman coming in. They got a transfer coming in. You got the Cobb kid is Jeremiah Cobb from Montgomery, is really, really talented. So I think that's going to be a very, very close, tight, exciting competition to watch. And I think on the other side of the ball, the secondary, I think, is wide open with some really young players, talented young players coming in that could all push for spots.
The area that needs the most improvement is you're looking at spring and getting all the intel on it. Well, what area are you looking to get information that, hey, there's a lot of improvement going on here, but that you think needs the most improvement?
Well, quarterback does, but I think part of the issues at quarterback, part of the issues at running back have been the offensive line. That to me has just been the biggest problem Auburn's had for a decade now, especially at that left tackle position. That's why giving Xavier Chaplin was so important. But they've still got to, firm up the other spots too. And I don't know for sure that Xavier is going to be a great player. I think he could be for Auburn. I think he's a very important signee or transfer. But yeah, that's the area I feel like has to step up. This team was not physical, not good pass blocking. It affected the passing game, the running game. The whole offense has really stumbled the last 4 years of this 4 years losing streak, and it starts up front for Auburn. So that's the number one area for me.
Yeah, that'll be here before you know it. I know basketball is on everyone's minds with Auburn being the number 1 seed in the SEC tournament, and most likely will be the number 1 overall seed in the NCAA tournament when we find that out on Sunday night. All right, before we let you go, I Will Survive from Gloria Gaynor.
Yes.
I always thought, was that not on the Saturday Night Live soundtrack, or was it just that time that those songs did Saturday Night Fever or Boogie? What was the name of that movie? It was Saturday Night.
Yeah, Saturday Night Fever. Yeah,
Saturday Night Fever. Was it on that soundtrack?
It might have been. I don't. I mean, I just remember the BJs and the BGs. The BJs.
Yeah,
the BGs. Of course, but yeah, it sounds like that was probably on there too. It would certainly fit, right? But
yeah, when I was reading that, I'm thinking, man, Saturday, because nobody had the Saturday Night Fever soundtrack, even though it was the most popular album ever sold or something.
Yeah.
But I didn't have that album. Oh, sure, everybody had it. Come on.
Oh, I had it.
I had it too.
I'm
it was
not
a double
afraid
album.
to admit, I love the '70s era music, and I listen to it all the time as in my mix. So yeah,
sure.
Oh,
it was a double album, and obviously the Bee Gees took up most of it, but there were other artists on the Saturday Night Fever soundtrack, and I thought, man, I think Gloria Gaynor, I Will Survive, was on that soundtrack. I'm going to check it later on, but nonetheless, very interesting story in your Monday musings about how that all came to be.
Yeah, 46 years ago, that song hit number 1 in the U.S., and it was actually written by a couple of Motown employees. One of them was fired, and he was really down in the dumps at the time. He was watching TV, and he saw one of his songs being sung by another band on TV, and he said to himself, "I will survive." So he kind of wrote down the lyrics. Then a couple of years later, the other guy who was a producer was making the A side of a single for Gloria Gaynor, and they had to find a song just for the B side. Yep. And he handed her this brown piece of paper with the lyrics on it, and they put it together in about 35, 40 minutes in the studio, and it became, her biggest ever hit and one of the biggest hits of that disco era. So, yeah, it's pretty incredible how these things can come together so quickly and so serendipitously, I guess is the word. I don't know.
Yeah, I when I read your piece Monday, I thought, oh boy, I remember that song. Yep, I Will Survive from the 70s Saturday Night Fever soundtrack, and that, of course. Your column in that feature sponsored by our good friends at Uncle Keith's Red Sauce. Tell our viewers and our listeners about that.
delicious, homegrown right in the state of Alabama. You're supporting an Alabama business when you buy Uncle Keith's red sauce, and it's also better than any other salsa out there. Publix, Piggly Wiggly, Renfro statewide, Montgomery, Auburn, maybe Montgomery. You can probably find it at Kroger's.
Yeah.
And online, you can use the discount code BMAT15 to get 15% off your order. Give it a try.
It's outstanding. Hey, Bryan, thank you so much for hopping on this Tuesday. We greatly appreciate it. Have a big week. We'll talk next week with you.
All right. Take care, John.
Buddy, thank you. That is Bryan Matthews, auburnsports.com, joining us today. Great information there. Check Bryan out for all the insight and intel about Auburn athletics. I got to take a quick break. I see Gern is anxious to spin the topic wheel. I have no idea what's on the topic wheel today. He loaded the topic, so we're going to go over a couple of those before we get to the top of the hour and are joined by Travis Reier. Reier on YouTube, Talking Tide with Travis. We'll do that. Quick break, back with more right after this. Hey, Marianne from Marguerite's Exquisite Jewelry joining us here this morning. And Marianne, you can kind of feel it. Spring is in the air. We're in the month of March. And, of course, we got to talk about that March birthstone, because anybody that has it, Marguerite's can take care of you.
Most definitely. Well, we are in March. It's hard to believe. And March's birthstone is aquamarine, and it is beautiful. It's honestly one of my favorite gemstones there are. It's kind of like the little black dress of gemstones. It's this soft, like light blue, goes with everything, and it's really one of the most popular. So if you have a March birthday, or if you know someone that does, the birthstone is always a great way to go. It shows that you think about them, that you remember when their birthday actually is, and that you put a little thought into it. And we've got tons of pieces, bracelets, lots of beautiful rings. We've made up several pair of earrings, like studs with little diamond halos around them. You name it, we can make it. And we are in the works of doing a few stackable bands for moms that are expecting new March babies. So I'm sure they will go over really well, and they'll be super great gifts.
It's a fabulous gift idea. Aquamarine is the March birthstone, and Marguerite's can take care of it for you, for the loved one that has that March birthday. So I know you're located at 8163 Vaughn Road in Pepper Tree and open 7 days a week, correct?
7 days a week, 10 to 5:30, Monday through Friday, 10 to 5 on Saturday, and noon to 5 on Sunday. So there's no excuse. You can always stop in at Marguerite's. We're always open. They certainly are a full-service jeweler. I cannot stress that enough. Whether it's new jewelry items or repairs or engraving, monogramming, or you want to make something old new again, they can do it at Marguerite's Exquisite Jewelry. They're in Pepper Tree, adjacent to Chappie's Deli on Vaughn Road. Thank you so much, Marianne. Have a great day. Thanks. You too. Okay, we're back at it about 8 minutes or so until the top of the hour. Travis Reier on YouTube, Talking Tide, will join us then. Also, at the bottom of the next hour, John Talty from CBSSports.com, 247.com as well. One of their fine college football writers, basketball writers, covers all types of collegiate sports, was at AL.com for so many years, and, of course, an author that we'll talk to him about as well. Gern has put together, Gern Jr. up in network control. He put the topic wheel up today. Barry is off today, so I thought I'd let Gern come up with the topics. I have not seen these, Chris the Bammer, or anyone else out there viewing or listening today. So these topics, this will be the first time I've seen them. So we'll go over a few. I don't know if we can get to all of them in this segment, but we'll go over a few and then finish up later in the program today. Look at that wheel, Chris. Wow. I have never seen that many topics on the wheel before in my life. So Gern Jr.'s got it going. He's going to let it rip. Spin the wheel, Gern, and let's see where the Victorland 777 topic wheel lands today. And, oh, wow, there you have it. Why not? T. Roy, the Troy Trojans, we mentioned it last, a couple of segments ago. The Troy Trojans are the Sun Belt Tournament Conference champions. They win it last night against Arkansas State. That means they get the automatic bid to the NCAA tournament. So congratulations to Troy.
Bears going dancing.
He is going dancing, and a lot of people wonder if he was dancing late into the night, early into the morning, why he's not here today. I can say we had advance notice. We did know several days ago that Barry was not going to be here today. Maybe he was anticipating a tournament championship. Who knows? But he will be back tomorrow. But, yeah, Barry is going dancing. You know, Gert, I'll be real interested to see where Troy lands. I thought it was interesting that, you know, Bryan Matthews in the last segment mentioned, you know, the NCAA kind of likes to get those in-state matchups where they can in NCAA tournaments, maybe early. You know, Auburn, if they're the overall number one seed, they're going to get that play-in team.
That's kind of where I was thinking you were heading, John. I would love to see that. A Troy AU matchup, that'd be pretty crazy.
Yeah, but with Troy winning, aren't they in it no matter what? I mean, they don't have to get in the play-in game. They're
in. They're good to go.
So I'm thinking Auburn's going to get the play-in winner as the number one overall seed. So they'll get, you know, like, who knows, North Dakota State or somebody, whatever. So I'm not sure they'd ever get to Troy. Maybe they could. But it'll be interesting to see where Troy lands in the tournament. Looking forward to that. Way to go, Troy. All right, let's spin her again, see what else. We've got so many topics here today. We got to move on with the topic wheel, the Victoryland 777 topic wheel. Woo, and it lands on twisters. Now, let me take a guess. Just let me take a guess. No, I was thinking of, you know, last week we did the freshen up gum, wondering where have they been. But Twizzlers is the candy. So I don't know really what we're talking about here with Twisters.
So that was Twisters, not Twizzlers. This is more just kind of on the topic, on the news kind of side of things. Oh, I lost the page. Hold on. I'm trying to share it with you. But
did we have a tornado?
Crazy activity going on down in Florida. Just
wow! Many hurricanes, as you can imagine.
But basically, they've just been getting railed. But this guy right here, he was on air while the tornado hit the news studio.
No way!
It's been blowing up in the news because of it's the first time I've ever seen anything like it, where he was like on air and it's hitting the studio and they just kind of take a 30-second pause on air.
Yeah.
And then comes back on and it's just like, well, guys, that was pretty crazy. And
I saw that it's Seminole County. Actually, do we know where? I mean, Barry would know where Seminole County is. I mean, I know people are probably thinking Tallahassee, but I don't think Tallahassee's in Seminole County.
No, it's a little bit off, but it's more in the lower region. But
yeah,
I mean, it was pretty crazy.
You know, and more, you know, tornadoes in Florida are usually around the Panhandle, from Pensacola to Tallahassee, maybe Jacksonville. But when you get south of
when it's real south, that's usually hurricane country. It's not really tornado country. So it had a lot of people freaking out there.
And this was yesterday?
This was 2 days ago.
2 days ago. Okay. Wow. Man. Yeah. Well, hey, thank you for enlightening. I did not know that. Man, I hope everything was okay. Everybody was okay down there. All right, let's spin it again. We probably get one more spin in before we have to go to the top of the hour and check in with Travis, because we want to leave some topics for the next hour as well, Chris. We want to keep you. Tallahassee is in Leon County. Thank you, Chris. I knew Seminole didn't sound right. Leon County, Florida's Tallahassee. Okay. You know where Seminole is, Chris? If you do, let us know on the chat line. All right. Let's spin it again and see what we got. Look at all those categories, Chris. Man, this is woo. Here we go. And it's Baby Boy KD. Baby Boy KD. Let me take a think. Now, if you'd done that in Greek letters, I would have thought maybe the sorority. had something to do with it, but baby boy KD.
If you can give me 1 second, I'm looking for the clip. Basically, KD is just been throwing temper tantrums on the court.
Kevin Durant. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah, I got to have a clip of this.
I'm trying to pull it up. I lost it. But he just basically has been notorious for just being a sore player on the court lately.
Oh, good. But as you're pulling that up, Seminole County is right above Orlando. Bill from Baltimore tells us. And our man Les has read where Troy could be a 14 seed. Les, I'm kind of feeling that too. I mean, you're right. I mean, no way Troy's going to be a play-in team because they've won their tournament championship. No way that's going to happen. I'm just not sure they're going to be in the same bracket with Auburn in Lexington. We'll see, though. But, 14 seed seems about right, Les. I'm with you there. What you got for us, Gern?
Well, I say that. I'm now looking at it. ESPN has taken it down.
Oh, too many temper tantrums.
We are apparently his media team is on top of the ball.
Like that. Did not
but
at
it
all.
was a pretty funny clip. It was basically pushing and shoving on his side from I think it was like a guy way off the bench.
Yep.
Just a random nobody player, and he lost his mind.
Maybe we can find it.
I'll try and find it while we have Travis.
Yep, sounds good. Speaking of that, our man Travis Reier joining us here. Reier on YouTube Talking Tide here each and every Tuesday. We greatly appreciate it. Travis, good morning. How you doing today, sir?
I'm great, John. How are you?
Man, I am doing great. Barry not with us today. I guess he's celebrating that Troy Sunbelt Championship tournament championship in Pensacola last night.
Yeah, congrats to Troy on that, taking down former Alabama assistant Bryan Hodgson and the Red Wolves of Arkansas State. That's big time for Troy.
It is big time. Gets them the automatic bid into the NCAA tournament. Going to be interesting to see where Troy lands for the big dance when that is announced on Sunday. My brush with greatness, you mentioned Bryan Hodgson, the former Alabama assistant, head coach at Arkansas State. He sat in front of me at a Kenny Chesney concert. How about that?
Huh.
Yeah.
Bryan was there. Bryan, you want some more Bryan Hodgson trivia?
Yes, I do.
He is married to the younger sister of former Alabama basketball player Riley Norris.
I did not know that. Wow.
I did not know that. I like it. I love it when we go Carson. When we go retro Carson, I like it.
I did not know that, man. That's why we have you on, Travis. I'm telling you, the knowledge is limitless.
I'm just trying to be your Ed McMahon. That's all I'm doing, John.
Oh, boy. That is beautiful. All right, let's talk about Nashville, Alabama not playing until Friday, late Friday, the last game of that day. Travis, your thoughts, just the mindset of this Alabama team as they head into the SEC tournament?
I thought it was impressive. Not that I expected them to just roll into Auburn and get rolled, but you did wonder a little bit about the psyche of this team, even with the veteran presence at some critical spots, even with a coach who's been in this sort of position heading into the postseason in the past. So that, as much as anything, win or lose, I would have been impressed again by the effort and really the level of play for Alabama throughout that game. The 15 turnovers a little too much, but you didn't question the engagement or any of those things for a team that had really struggled against a really, really tough schedule. So I thought you saw some of the mettle from Alabama that you wanted to see this time of year, and also some of that sharpened iron from all the iron that they'd gone against in the previous 6 games. So I thought it was a net positive regardless, but you still got to win games this time of year. And so to go on the road and get a win in a place like that against a team like that, I think that just boosts the confidence even more for this team headed to Nashville.
And it's, you just can't say enough about the play of Grant Nelson on Saturday. Kind of reminded me of what we saw out of Grant last March when Alabama made that run. But, boy, what an afternoon he had. I thought Amari played well, and maybe to a lesser extent Sherrell did as well. I mean, I just thought that trio, when Mark Sears wasn't having his best day, those guys and several others, Youngblood, he's another one, stepped up and took over.
They did. The three posts you mentioned were huge because Broome just went off. I mean, 34 points.
Yeah.
You were going to need probably a collective effort, and to get it from those three bigs the way they did, that was absolutely huge. Kept them in the game long enough for Sears to work his magic there at the buzzer. But, yeah, I thought it was the sort of, again, performance that similar to what we saw from Alabama in the NCAA tournament a year ago. Multiple guys stepping up, maybe some guys in different games, but, that's what you want to see this time of year. And, I think LeBaron Philon continues to be a big key for this team going into the postseason. He's going to be on the basketball a lot, as we know. And what I like about Philon is he isn't always perfect, but he is never scared. You never get the sense that he's ready to back away from a situation. He, as the kids say, he loves the smoke. I thought the pilfer and the layup he had was huge. And just if he can play at a high level, they've got a great shot to go deep again.
Yeah, no doubt. You mentioned some areas of their game that need some improvement: offensive rebounds, limiting turnovers, making more threes. Maybe you can't, whittle it down. But of those three that I just mentioned, which one of those needs to be improved the most? Is the most important?
Yeah, the free throws are always big. I think they kind of are who they are as a three-point shooting team at this point. Maybe they get hot in the postseason, but they were outnumbered in threes on Saturday by I think 3. But where they made it up was points in the paint, and that's sort of the either or both, preferably. But if they're not going to shoot the threes well, they have to be good in the paint. They have to be good at the rim. They haven't been as good as Nate would like even in that area. So elevate 1 or 2 of those 3 that we just talked about. Turnovers kind of are what they are. I think for the way they play, you're going to have to deal with some of that. Also, Auburn's a team that will turn you over. So you have to kind of acknowledge that as well. So I guess a yes to all the above. But, yeah, either get hot from 3 or continue that sort of advantage they had in the paint on Saturday.
And I know they, aren't as big as some other teams that they've played, but offensive rebounds, 5 in the first half, 0 in the second, did have 5 in overtime, which I think was huge. I think improving offensive rebounding, Travis, I think that could go a long way with this team.
It could. I still think 50-50s in general. I think, this isn't a team that takes a lot of charges defensively. So I know they're still priding themselves on hard hat and those type of attributes. I'd like to see an even uptick in some of those. You had a big loose ball there. It was either late in regulation or maybe even overtime, where you got a ball that hits the floor on your defensive boards and you're not getting on the floor for a loose ball that could have ended the game. I think Alabama was up 3 at the time. It's a missed shot from Auburn. Amori kind of bends at the waist, doesn't really go get it, and then you get Auburn knocking down a 3 to tie the game. That's the type of stuff that can end your season, and I know it's something that Nate wants to see more of.
Travis Reier joining us today. Reier on YouTube, talking Tide. Travis, I think it goes without saying, this team's battle-tested. I mean, their non-conference schedule is incredible, was incredible, and certainly playing in the SEC, second to none. So in saying all that, once they get to the NCAA tournament, they're not going to be surprised by anybody they play.
They should not be. I think there's still some matchups that you'd rather see them sort of steer clear of. I know they've had success against Houston, but that type of team worries me kind of like a Tennessee in that regard, because it could come down to the type of plays we just talked about, the tough plays, the winning plays at the end of games. I don't think you ever want to see a Rick Pitino team, ever, in the NCAA tournament. And I don't think you really want to see this St. John's team. But, yeah, I think that, the committee, I would think, is going to do its best to kind of keep these teams from seeing each other in regional play. Who knows? But when you look at it right now, there's 4 teams from this league that you could legitimately make an argument for as 1 seed, as the 4 seeds, number 1 seeds in this tournament. I think you could make an argument for Auburn, Florida, Tennessee, and Alabama. I don't think it'll play out that way, but if you are a 1 seed, a 1 non-SEC seed, you're not going to want to see one of these teams as a 2, I don't think.
No, I'm with you there. I wouldn't say I wouldn't want you to face them either. Any clue, any idea, any guess what region Alabama will land in?
No, I haven't really looked at the pods either, though, in terms of proximity to, Florida, Auburn, Tennessee, Alabama. Look, it's strength of schedule. Those things speak to Alabama being in a favorable position, whether it's seeding and or location. But you just never know. And last year, didn't seem to bother them too much to go out west. LA was pretty good to them.
Yeah, I would say so. All right, Travis, week in the books for spring football. What have you picked up on it? I thought it was interesting. Ryan Grubb's very complimentary of all 3 of the quarterbacks that are on the roster.
Yeah, Ryan knows what he's doing. It's too early to really go overboard, even if you do think one of them is clearly separated. I thought some of the things he said about Ty didn't really reveal a lot, but they were probably what you wanted to hear, given Ty's experience and time in the program. Sounds like he has embraced that role like he kind of figured he would. So it's still early, essentially, was the message, not just with the quarterbacks, but we all love to know what these newcomers are doing too. And I think he was asked about a couple of those, and understanding that it's still a long ways to go. But yeah, I think once they get back from break and you start getting more in the way of legitimate team periods and scrimmage work, then you start to hear a little bit more about maybe how that's going, not only at quarterback but other spots too.
With when they return, and as spring football progresses up until mid-April, in your mind, the most interesting position battle this spring, where do you think it'll be?
It's a good question. I know everyone's going to want to talk about quarterback. I've said all along I need to see more from this offensive line. So I know a couple of the interior spots are pretty well accounted for with Jaden Roberts and Parker Brailsford. You would think Gino Vandemark as a veteran would be a prime candidate, but there's some second, third year type guys that I think have a chance too, like an Ola Salinan, who can work at guard and tackle, which is important because you're really light at the offensive tackle position right now, especially with Caden Proctor pretty much on the sideline. So, I want to see as a group the offensive line take another step, and maybe Grubb, with his background, he's able to provide some help there as well. And then defensively, I think you're always just looking for, guys in that secondary, whether it's that sort of slot corner position, the Husky, or, looking at safety, understanding Keon Sabb is out, and you expect to have him, but, guys like Bray Hubbard, can they take another step forward? Those type of players, I think on the back end, the defense looks to be in a really good place in terms of quality and numbers at pretty much every spot. But they still have some things to sort out back there as well. And I think specialists too. I think the kicking game, you're losing a 4-year punter, you're losing a 4-year snapper. How are things going to work out in the return game as well? Special teams are something you shouldn't overlook this time of year either.
No, you shouldn't. And maybe you answered it when you mentioned the offensive line, some secondary, maybe special teams. And I was going to just get your thoughts about in your mind, the area that needs the most improvement. I hear a lot about the defensive line. Maybe that's more of a recruiting area that needs to be improved. But if there's one position group that you hoped improves the most in the spring and summer, which would it be?
Yeah, I think you're on it with the defensive line, especially for how Kane Womack wants those guys to play. You know, he doesn't want them to be sort of just hold the point, occupy people, and allow linebackers and back seven guys to make the plays and make the tackle kind of thing. So, absolutely, it's kind of hard with James Smith pretty much sidelined this spring because you expect him to certainly be at or near the very top of that list when we talk about that position. Tim Keenan comes back. I like some of the younger guys. I like Edric Hill. I like Jordan Renaud, Jeremiah Beeman. Those are some guys I'm interested to see because I feel like in some ways, you know what you got at some other spots. So, you know, some guys that have been around for a year or two now, just interested always to see, are they ready to take that next step? Because people forget, I mean, Jonathan Allen, Daron Payne, these aren't guys that hit campus and just lit the world on fire. You know, they needed a year or two themselves. So, you know, that's kind of what I'm interested in seeing because, again, Womack wants tackle for loss. He wants sack production from his guys up front. He wants disruptiveness. So it's time they start to show that.
You know, and wrapping up with you this morning, Travis, always looking ahead. I'm just curious. I know it's really, really early, but how improved do you think Florida State will be this fall compared to what they went through last year?
It's hard to tell because it's like a reset, it feels like, with Mike Norvell every year down there, and it starts at the quarterback position. I like Thomas Castellanos, the quarterback that the Noles brought in from Boston College. Didn't necessarily end great for him under Bill O'Brien up in Chestnut Hill, but you know, they're going to be a talented team. They felt like as much as anything, intangibly, they went off a cliff. They lost that opener to Georgia Tech last year over in Ireland, and they never got close to having a good mojo for the rest of the season. So I would certainly expect a bounce back. I think Alabama will go into Tallahassee as the better team and should have a far better understanding of itself in year two under Kalen DeBoer. You know, but it's got the potential still to be a big Alabama crowd, I think, even in Tallahassee.
Yeah.
Florida State, to me, going to games at Doak Campus, it's kind of like going to games at Ole Miss, you know, places like that. It reminds me of, you know, Vaught Hemingway in some ways. And, you know, if that fan base isn't really all in, you know, that's a situation where an opposing fan base can take over pretty well. And we know proximity won't be a problem for Alabama fans where Tallahassee is concerned.
Not at all. And I'm sure this Alabama staff has gone back to look at old game film of Gus Malzahn coaching against Alabama when he was at Auburn and the fits that he gave the Crimson Tide. I know Bama fans a little uneasy knowing they got to face a Gus Malzahn offense based on some of the other times they faced off against Gus now there with the Florida State coaching staff.
Yeah, Gus will be in total hold my beer and watch this mode, you got to think, for Alabama in that opener. He's going to have all this time. It's going to be Alabama. I'm fully expecting a double throwback pass from a long snapper to a holder to a kicker running a rail route down the sideline. So head on a swivel with Gus in that opener in Tally.
Yeah, you're very well put. I agree wholeheartedly. All right, Travis, before we let you go, let our viewers and our listeners know how they can follow you. Reier on YouTube, Talking Tide. I know you got some podcasts about the Jacksonville Jags, amongst other things. Tell us how we can all follow you.
Yeah, I'm on X, at Travis Reier, TravisReier. Also on YouTube, Reier on YouTube. Chase Goodbread of the Tuscaloosa News and myself were up late last night live on the channel talking Alabama basketball and football. So that show's waiting for you right now on Reier on YouTube. The show's Also podcast in format as well. So anywhere you get your podcast, you can find us there at Reier on YouTube.
Travis, as always, we appreciate your time, my friend. Have a great week. We'll talk next Tuesday. All right, buddy. Thank you. Travis Reier joining us here today. Always a great segment with Travis. When we get back, more of the topic wheel, the bottom of the hour, John Talty. Of course, with AL.com, now with CBSSports.com and 247. John will join us at the bottom of the hour. Tobias, I see you, my man. Yeah, I hear you. Tobias says one thing that will help the offensive line is a quarterback who has pocket presence, not hold the ball too long and knows where to go with the ball. Sacks or a QB sack. You know, Tobias and I have been thinking the same thing about a former Alabama quarterback for quite some time. Tobias, you are on it, my man. All right, let's take a break. Back with more. It is Tuesday on Longshore and McKnight, presented by Bud Light. Easy to drink, easy to enjoy. Why Hands? At Hands Heating and Air, you get this area's highest ranked service provider with 24-hour repair service, no overtime charges, and their same-day service guarantee. Plus, instead of other companies' 30-day repair warranty, Hands gives you a 3-year repair warranty. Hands Heating and Air is here for you 24/7, 365. And service is not just something they do, it's their way of operating, for you in mind. All of Hands employees are trained to adhere to this standard. They work hard to ensure that this standard is maintained, and they are constantly looking for new ways to better serve you. Call Hands Heating and Air today at 508-5382. That's 508-5382, or find them on the web at 834hands.com.
In sports, if you think joy only happens after you win, think again. Look at the world's most successful athletes like Serena Williams, Brooks Koepka, and Alex Morgan. They don't spend all their days grinding away. They take time to enjoy themselves, like getting together with friends over a Michelob Ultra, because they know that happiness is the key to winning, and that joy is the whole game, not just the end game. Michelob Ultra. 95 calories, 2.6 grams of carbs. It's only worth it if you enjoy it. Enjoy responsibly. AB Michelob Ultra Light Beer, St. Louis, Missouri.
Dixie Electric Plumbing and Air rallies for you. No matter the problem, Dixie will tackle it. Their licensed and trusted electricians, plumbers, air and garage door technicians are ready to win for you. From toilets to garbage disposals, circuit breakers to HVAC systems, Dixie never fumbles. Don't throw away your hard-earned money on second-string contracting companies. Score big with Dixie. After all, they are your biggest fan. Visit calldixie.com or dial them up locally at 262-2946. Okay, welcome back in, everybody. About 22 minutes past the hour here on this Tuesday. Longshore and McKnight, presented by Bud Light. Barry has the day off. Troy, big winner of the Sun Belt tournament last night down in Pensacola, knocking off Arkansas State for the title and the invitation to the NCAA tournament. Go Trojans. Barry will join us tomorrow. John Talty in about 8 minutes. But right now, let's see what Gurn has left on the Victoryland 777 topic wheel. I have not seen these topics. These are new topics to me. So I've got to kind of comment on the fly, as they say. I see a basketball court. It looks like the Memphis. Oh, yeah. Thank you, Gurn. It is time for the Phantoms Daily Dog today. Do we have a clip here? Are you going to play some highlights of this game last night? What do we got here? Oh, there's Durant. Oh, yeah. Uh-huh. Little bump, little talk, little mouthing off. Uh-huh. Yeah. Okay. I've known people that used to do some of that type stuff. So they call him Crybaby KD. Is that what they call him, I think? This game was close at halftime. It's interesting that you got this clip, Gurn. Good pull there. And that just does kind of lead me into the Phantoms Daily Dog. Last night we had Phoenix. That Phoenix game right there that Gurn pulled up. They were catching 4.5. at Memphis last night. Final score, Memphis 120 and Phoenix 118. If you do the math, Phoenix covered the spread. Tight game. It was tight at halftime. It was tight throughout the game. Phoenix covers the 4, and I didn't win it, but don't care. They covered the spread. So big win to start the week for the Phantoms Daily Dog. Let's do it again tonight. What do you say? 6 p.m. on ESPN2. No, excuse me. Check that. ESPN Plus. We have Big 12 tournament action from Kansas City. Begins today at 11:30 in the morning. But we're looking at a game that's tonight at 6 p.m. Arizona State taking on Kansas State. And I know what you're thinking. It's like a home game for Kansas because it's in Kansas City. Well, that's actually Kansas City, Missouri. But we're going to take Arizona State plus 5.5 at taking on Kansas State in the Big 12 tournament today. 6 o'clock tip, Arizona State plus 5.5 taking on Kansas State, round 1 of the Big 12 tournament from Kansas City. That's T-Mobile Center is where they play that. Big 12 tournament beginning today. Got 4 games. Cincinnati and Oklahoma State kick it off at 11:30. Then it's Colorado and TCU, followed by Arizona State and Kansas State, the game I just mentioned. And then the nightcap, Central Florida and Utah in the Big 12. In the ACC, I mentioned their tournament from Charlotte at the Spectrum Center gets going today. Only 3 games. Pitt and Notre Dame is the opening game at 2 o'clock, followed by Cal and Virginia Tech. Then it's Syracuse and Florida State in the ACC tournament. Several other big tournaments going on as well. But our Phantoms Daily Dog, there you have it. All right, Gern, let's maybe spin the wheel of time, maybe 2, but I know we can get 1 in before we check in with John Talty, who's going to join me here this morning. The Victory Land 777 topic wheel is going to land on Alb making $move. Alb making $move. What could this be? Oh, here we go. Former Auburn cornerback on the move in NFL free agency for $60 million. Gern, tell me more. What are we talking about here? Well, I can't hear Gern today. Got his mic turned off. Carlton Davis. Oh, good for him. $60 million. Sweet. That is a big move for him. I did not realize that he had made such a big move to this. Man, that's pretty good. Hey, $60 million, we'll take it any way we can get it. I can promise you. And I got to admit, I hadn't really followed Carlton's career. Maybe I should. But that's a heck of a deal right there. For Carlton Davis to pick up a good deal. The big money move, as Gern put it on the topic wheel from Carlton Davis there. Good job there. All right. We got another one. Let's spin it. We'll try to get one more in before we go to our next guest. And one more, Greg. I mean, Chris the Bammer is eating this up. I can promise you. You see, Chris says, more wheel, please. Greg says, stop the wheel. He's getting dizzy. One more to go before the bottom of the hour here. Only 4 more topics to go. And we're spinning the wheel, the Victoryland 777 topic wheel. Unknown to me. Did not know the topics today. And it inches into I'm thinking general manager, active GM. Gern, what you got for me on this one? Active GM. Oh, okay. Some more NBA. Steph Curry, who lit it up on the current road trip of the Golden State Warriors recently. Man, he has accepted a role with his alma mater, Davidson College, as an assistant general manager for the basketball program. University officials reported to ESPN. And I'm telling you, general managers are huge in collegiate sports. Alabama's got one. Auburn's got one. Every big-time program seems to have one. The director of the Senior Bowl down in Mobile left to go to Oklahoma to become their general manager. That's interesting. Are you going to see more former or current or former professional athletes go back to their alma mater to be a general manager, and a guy like Steph Curry? I mean, man, that is that's going to open a lot of eyes, and people are going to be answering a lot of phone calls when Steph Curry is on the other end of the phone. That is awesome. I wonder how long he'll be able to do there. Can he juggle both his NBA career and a general manager's role at Davidson? I could see him doing something like that. Maybe not as detailed or day-to-day as you might need, but just having him there to, there again, make a phone call, make an appearance, meet with some folks. Smart move, I will say. All right, let's take a quick break. When we return, John Talty, CBSSports.com, 247 Sports, will join me after this quick timeout.
Don't miss your chance to win big at Victoryland Casino. Play the latest, hottest, most exciting games around with fun bonuses and big jackpots. Don't miss out on your free play. Stop by Player Rewards today and check out this month's exciting free play promotions. Come see why our players keep coming back. You'll have more fun at Victoryland Casino, where you can be a winner too. Victoryland Casino, located off I-85 exit 22, Shorter, Alabama. Must be 21 or older.
All right, man, grab a Budweiser and take a knee. It is the best time of the year. It's baseball season. That means sunshine. It means behind the back.
Local banking expertise, the newest innovations and technology, personal attention, genuine hospitality. It's all just part of the River Banking Trust difference. They invite you to experience it for yourself.
So let me ask you
something. Banking above and beyond at River Banking Trust.
Are you ready to cheer every frozen rope down the line and amazing catch at the warning track?
River Banking Trust.
Ready for pitchers duels?
Well, the Crimson Tide and the Auburn Tigers are really hot in college basketball.
I can't hear you. Are you ready for Budweiser and baseball? Then get on your feet.
Alabama and Northwest Florida's largest volume Ram truck dealer is Stivers in Prattville. And at Stivers, they have the largest selection of Ram trucks, priced at thousands less than other dealers. How about a 2025 Ram Bighorn 4x4 crew cab with savings of up to $15,000 off sticker price? Also at Stivers Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram, they have fantastic savings on the entire Jeep lineup, like the Wranglers and Jeep Grand Cherokees. Head over to Stivers Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram today on Cobbs Ford Road in Prattville, where Price sells cars and trucks.
The Destin Connection Seafood Market offers the freshest seafood direct from the Gulf of Mexico with deliveries daily. Snapper, grouper, pompano, flounder, copia, along with medium, large, and jumbo shrimp, hand-picked crab meat, and chucked oysters. They can even cook your order for easy, quick pickup. The Destin Connection can make a po' boy with any of their seafood items that folks in New Orleans rave about. Go by and see them at 3750 Norman Bridge Road or call 288-4272 for pickup orders.
All right, welcome back in, everybody. About 27 minutes to the top of the hour. Barry will be back with us tomorrow. Got the day off after Troy's big Sun Belt Tournament Championship win last night and automatic bid into the NCAA tournament. So no Bear's excited about that. He'll be back with us tomorrow. Hey, joining us now, John Talty, a friend of the program. I've had John on several times before and certainly glad to have him back again today. Hey, John, good morning. Glad to see you again. Hope you're doing well.
How's it going?
We are doing fantastic. John, of course, a lot of our chatters, a lot of our listeners remember you from AL.com. You moved on. You're at CBSSports.com, 247. Tell us a little bit about that move and what's been going on.
Yeah, I mean, I've essentially expanded from, covering Alabama and the SEC to the entire country. So leads to some interesting things that I haven't had to deal with in the past. But it's been great getting to cover a lot of college football, a lot of college basketball too. It's been just kind of wild ride.
Sure. John, I wanted to get you on because obviously knowing your knowledge of what goes on here in the state and certainly outside in the whole gamut of college athletics. A lot of talk recently about the SEC and the Big Ten, meetings taking place. Where, in your mind, where is this headed, John? Are we going eventually to a big boy conference comprised of the Big Ten and the SEC, or is there something else going on?
I think that's always kind of the thing that looms over all of those discussions is wondering if ultimately it's going to lead to some version of those two breaking away. It's been threatened in the past where if some of these other conferences didn't give the SEC and the Big Ten what they wanted when it came to the playoff, they've said essentially, we can just do our own event and it'll be bigger and better than anything else. And so, basically forcing these other conferences to capitulate and give them what they want. So that's always going to be an option, kind of the nuclear option that they have. We've seen the SEC and the Big Ten feel more and more comfortable taking more power, taking more money, taking more control. I think that's going to continue to happen. Whether that ultimately leads to them breaking away, I think it's possible. I think that's something that a lot of people think, a 40 to 50 team super conference, makes sense in a lot of ways. But I think that's down the road at a minimum. I think where you look to see where more things could possibly happen is in that 2030 range, where a lot of these conferences have TV right deals that are going to come up and could lead to, more movement. That's typically where we've seen conference realignment, things like that, geared around those TV rights deals.
Yeah, and it's all TV driven. And I'm with you, John. I do think, we know who the big boys are, in the SEC and the Big Ten and Notre Dame and, a couple of other schools that I'm sure would like to get in as well. But really probably, there's 40 of them out there that kind of move the needle and make the money. I do think we're kind of headed for something like that. I think you kind of see it in what the SEC and the Big Ten want in terms of guaranteed spots in an expanded playoff. If we do get to that in 2031, what does that do for the group of five? I mean, I'm thinking the Sun Belt, the Mountain West, the Mid-America, Conference USA. How are they going to survive?
Yeah, I mean, it's a hard question to answer. And I know it's something that, we were talking honestly over here at CBS Sports yesterday in one of our meetings about the MAC and kind of the precarious position they're in, where you're losing a lot of your top players to other schools who are getting tampered with and transferred off, and it's hard to compete financially with these bigger and stronger programs. So, I mean, that's been a problem for them for a while, but I do feel like that gap has widened in recent years. And certainly if there's a break off, that would leave them behind. And so what does that mean for them? Well, in the past, I want to say it was maybe a year or so ago, there was talk of, group of five almost creating their own playoff. They didn't do that because they want access to the big deal. It's like in college basketball, you don't want to just subject yourself to the NIT. You want a shot at the NCAA tournament. So they haven't gone forward with that. But I think ultimately, if there's a big breakaway, could there be kind of like the FCS playoffs? Could you have a group of five playoff? I think that's possible, conceivable. I think the other thing that is unlikely but would be interesting would be if kind of like in, European soccer, if there was a relegation system where teams can go up and can go down over a period of time. That would be super interesting. And I think that would give the group of five teams a carrot to try to work toward and invest in and things like that. But that one feels unlikely, but that's, that idea always kind of floats around too.
John, I'm hearing, and I know you are as well, everybody is, talk about expanding the playoff even further from 12 to either 14 or 16. For the life of me, I don't know why we're beating around the bush. I think we're eventually going to get to 16 at some point in time. Why not just go to 16 right now? Why they seem stuck on 14?
Yeah, that's a great question. I don't know that I've gotten the perfect answer on that. I think that in theory, the difference is that a 14 team would still include a bye component to it. So I think if we're talking about the SEC and the Big Ten taking control, and we assume that, more often than not, they're probably going to be the top two, those conferences. Well, if you have 14 team playoff, those two get a bye, and then everything else plays out as is. 16 team is pretty easy math wise. You just, you have 8 games and whittle it down from there. So that to me is maybe the only difference. But I always thought the 16 made, like, to me it felt like it was either 8 or 16. So I thought 12 was a little weird, to be honest, to begin with. So 14 is similarly weird. I don't know. They just have different ways maybe of looking at it than the rest of us do. But yeah, it feels like 16 makes sense. And it felt like 14 had the traction for a while. I do feel like 16 is gaining steam. And so maybe, common sense is starting to win out a little bit.
Yeah, and you'd think the networks, you think ESPN would want as many playoff games as they could get. That's another thing that kind of surprised me. 14 over 16, don't get it. I'm with you. I like hearing that maybe they're picking up some steam. Couple of other things that we've picked up on, and I've always been a big proponent of it, John. I don't know how much weight I carry, just my opinion. But Nick Saban wanted it. Gus Malzahn even spoke out on it. 9 conference games. It looks like the SEC is headed to 9 conference games. And I'm telling you, John, I'm greedy. I'll admit it. I like the 9 conference games, but I like the big-time non-conference game as well. And it looks like with this SEC Big Ten deal that maybe we could get 9 conference games and a big-time non-conference matchup between the SEC and the Big Ten.
Yeah, that's the way that it's trending. And I think a lot of this stuff is all tied together. So, excuse me, if you expand the playoff to 14 or 16 teams, and within that you include automatic qualifiers, and so it's going to be based on the conferences themselves. Big Ten and SEC would each get 4 teams in that scenario, and they're going to decide, amongst their own rules as to which teams are going to make it out of those 4. That I think allows teams to be more willing to play 9 conference games and more willing to play a, Big Ten SEC type challenge non-conference game, knowing that could help you with seeding, but it's not going to be the main factor as to whether you get in and don't get in, which I think this past year you saw multiple SEC teams, Alabama, South Carolina, Ole Miss, that got left out, that felt like it was all based on just the fact that they had 3 losses rather than the wins that they had or the strength of their schedule. And so I think that's where the automatic qualifiers fit into that conversation. I do think it'll be very interesting, though. We just mentioned South Carolina. If you're South Carolina, and they're in a good place right now with Shane Beamer, I'm bullish on them. With Norris Sellers, I think can be really good. But more years than not, you're fighting for 7 wins, you're fighting for bowl games, things like that. If you now go to an extra conference game, you add in maybe a Big Ten game. Do you keep that annual rivalry game against Clemson? Like, I don't want to lose the South Carolina Clemson rivalry game, but all of a sudden that's a pretty stacked schedule. If you've got 9 conference games, Clemson, Big Ten game, and then I guess you maybe pick 1 cupcake FBS game. But I mean, that's a stacked schedule. So I don't know. There'll be some interesting jockeying of how you figure out how that all works, because you don't want to put yourself in a position where you're not going to get enough wins.
If I'm Florida, do I want to play Florida State?
Right.
I mean, 9 conference games, a Big Ten matchup, you got to play Florida State as well. So that's a great point. I think Florida, Georgia, Kentucky, Clemson, they're thinking, do we want to play these teams? And in that in-state rivalry, that's a tough one. I hear what you're saying there. Another aspect, I find this really interesting and exciting, John. The talk of expanding the championship weekend. So if they expand the overall playoff, also expand the conference championship weekend, where you might have multiple games being played, and the winners of those games get those seeds that the Big Ten and the SEC are lobbying for.
Yeah, and I think this is kind of, again, it's all tied together, but I think that it makes a lot of sense, because I think you started to see a narrative pop up this past year where, Rhett Lashley at SMU talked about it, like, hey, if we didn't even play in this game we're in, do we really want to play? You had Lane Kiffin talking about how SEC coaches would love to not have to play in this game, given where things stand. That's not what you as a conference commissioner want to hear. Those games are very valuable to the conferences. They want to protect them as best they can. And there have been stories written about for years now about, where the conference championship games are, soon to be extinct, whether they're not going to be able to survive as they've been in the past. I think a smart way of reformatting them is, for instance, if the 4-team is going to be the automatic bids that the SEC gets, can you create a weekend in which maybe there's 3 games that weekend where it's 1 versus 2 for who gets that bye, and then maybe it's 3 versus 6 and 4 versus 5 as play-in games to get into the playoff. I think that would be very exciting. I think we would all watch those games. You mentioned earlier, like ESPN, that gives ESPN more inventory. I think they would be interested in having high-impact, high-level games at the end of the season. I think that's something that could be very exciting. So, ACC, Big Ten, SEC, they're all thinking about different ways to how do we keep the championship weekend, but maybe how do we reformat it so it's more modern and ultimately has a bigger impact if we go this automatic qualifier route that we all expect to happen at this point.
Yeah, I'm with you. I think it would make a really exciting championship weekend. All right, John, now that you're covering college sports on a national level, what are you picking up on with NIL around the country? How's it going? What are coaches and schools saying? I mean, we obviously hear about what's going on in the SEC and here within the state of Alabama, but what are you picking up on and your thoughts about how NIL is going for colleges?
Yeah, I think we're all kind of waiting to see rev share and how that impacts things. We saw this past December the combination of NIL money and then future revenue share money really jacked up the market where guys were getting huge sums of money. I think, very inflationary in some ways. There's just a lot of money being thrown around. That's probably not going to happen as much this spring. But I mean, I think we've seen across the board, we're seeing big investments by schools that maybe you wouldn't think to spend major money on players, but there's just a lot of money in general in the market right now. I think what's going to be really fascinating, and the SEC has to think about this, is that when we get to this revenue share world, how you divvy up your money. Now, for so long as like it'd be football, right? Everything's football. But, the way that basketball is booming right now, like those basketball coaches are going to want a decent cut of the money. There's some great women's basketball programs like South Carolina. They're going to want to cut. Some great baseball programs. They need money. So it's going to be tricky for some of these schools where you can't just give it all to football. Like basketball needs $4 or $5 million and baseball is going to need $1 million and all these different things. And how you find a way to cut up that money and then find additional NIL deals on top of that is going to be tricky for these athletic directors, especially at schools where they really want to excel in multiple different sports.
John Talty joining me here this morning with CBSSports.com 247. John also is an author. And John, I know we talked to you back when your book, The Leadership Secrets of Nick Saban, how Alabama's coach became the greatest ever. We talked with you about that. I know that book's been extremely successful. Let our viewers and our listeners know about the price, what it takes to win in college football's era of chaos.
Yeah, essentially it's just like what's happening in college football, right? It's what has, kind of forced coaches like Nick Saban out of the game, the impact of NIL from a behind the scenes standpoint. So, we spent time with agents and players and coaches and collectives and all these different people to try to give you a 360 view of how and why college football has changed and where it's headed. And so, we spent a lot of time with programs like Alabama and Michigan and, Maryland and Ole Miss and all these other places that I think, listeners and viewers would be very interested in reading.
So let our viewers and listeners know, tell them all the outlets, where's the best place to pick up a copy of your book, your latest book.
Yeah, anywhere you buy books. I mean, I don't always I love local bookshops. So if you got those, hit one of those up. But Otherwise, Barnes & Noble's easy. Books A Million, Alabama Company, and then, Amazon, I think is probably always the easiest. You could order it literally right now, and it's probably going to be at your house in 48 hours. So whatever's easiest, wherever you get the best price is good with me, but there's a lot of different options where you could buy it.
All right, before we let you go, the NCAA tournament begins next week. Is there a surprise team we need to be looking out for? Is there a team John Talty has circled saying, watch out for these guys?
Well, I'll have to give you guys this one. I went to the University of Maryland. Maryland's hot right now. Looking at maybe anywhere from a 3 to 5 seed. They have potentially one of the, best starting fives in college basketball. They have no bench. So they're one of those teams that could get hot, could make a run. They're very hot right now. Could they get knocked out if somebody gets in foul trouble? Absolutely. So they're a boom or bust play, but they're one of those teams that I feel like if they get the right path, could be an Elite Eight, Final Four type team if they get hot. So one of those, depending on where they land in the bracket, could be a good team for people to pick.
I am writing them down, so I'll have them on my bracket moving far down the bracket. Scott Van Pelt, not the most famous alum of Maryland. It's this guy, John Talty, joining me here today. John, as always, man, I appreciate the time. Barry's sick that he's not here today because he wanted to be a part of the conversation as well, but we'll certainly have him. He'll be with us next time we get you on, and we really appreciate it.
Sounds good. Always good talking to you and talking again soon.
Yep. Thank you, John. Appreciate that. John Talty joining us here today on Longshore and McKnight. All right, let's take our last break of the day. When we come back, Gern's got more on the Victoryland 777 topic wheel. Yeah, Gern worked OT to load up the topics. I do not know what the topics are. So I'm getting the topics for the first time here on the program today. Let's take a break. More of that back after this quick timeout. Book tee time sooner. Save on every round. That's what you get with the 2025 RTJ Trail Card. Destination golf is closer than you might think. Buy a 2025 Trail Card and save every time you play. Plus, you will be automatically entered into the Trails Loyalty Program. Enjoy 10-day advance reservation privileges at each location. 11-day advanced internet tee times on rtjgolf.com and the RTJ app. Enjoy the benefits of a 2025 Trail Card. It makes for a great stocking stuffer, and you save on every round you play in 2025 on the Robert Trent Jones Golf Trail.
All right, man, grab a Budweiser and take it.
Introducing Budweiser Zero. 0% alcohol, 0 grams of sugar, full Budweiser flavor. A refreshing alcohol-free brew that tastes like the real thing. Budweiser Zero. 0 alcohol, 0 compromise.
Dixie Electric Plumbing and Air rallies for you. No matter the problem, Dixie will tackle it. They're licensed and trusted electricians, plumbers, air and garage door technicians are ready to win for you. From toilets to garbage disposals, circuit breakers to HVAC systems, Dixie never fumbles. Don't throw away your hard-earned money on second-string contracting companies. Score big with Dixie. After all, they are your biggest fan. Visit calldixie.com or dial them up locally at 262-2946. Okay, we are back at it here. A couple of minutes to the top of the hour. Just to let you know, and you got to be paying attention, the Phantoms Daily Dog, we've had a line movement. Now we're catching 6 with Arizona State +6 taking on Kansas State in the Big 12 tournament from Kansas City at 6 o'clock tonight. So note that. You want to get the best value that you can. Our tournament bracket challenge begins on Monday. You'll go to yellowhammernews.com. The icon will be right there on their homepage. Click it, read the instructions, give us your name, email address, cell number, something like that. Go through the bracket, click your teams. It'll automatically move up for you as long as you win. and you could be the big winner of a $1,000 travel voucher to get you anywhere you want to go. Hey, it's great. If it costs you more than $1,000, well, you got $1,000 toward that ticket price. If it only costs you $500, you'll have a $500 credit you can use at a later time. So it works great for you. You'll have till Thursday, March the 20th, to get your selections in. After that, first tip on Thursday, contest is closed. Sponsored by our great friends at the Montgomery Regional Airport. Getting better the more you use it. Check it out at iflymgm.com. Phoenix Physical Therapy, getting you back in the game is what Phoenix Physical Therapy is all about. River Region Straw, premium long needle pine straw. Give Kenny a call or text at 669-5959. And the Destin Connection Seafood Market, the freshest seafood delivered daily to Montgomery. Call ahead. Your order will be ready for pickup. 288-4272 at 3750 Norman Bridge Road. 3 more topics left on the Victorland 777 topic wheel. I do not know what the topics are. Gurn loaded the wheel today. Spin it. Let's see what is next. 3 more topics. It's going to land on tacos on 12. Tacos on 12. Let me think. Number 12 at Augusta's, the picturesque short par 3. I do not believe they sell tacos at that concession there, but this does have a golf connotation. I see the hat. I see the golf ball. I see the tacos. Gerd, help me out here. What are we looking at? Tacos on 12. I cannot hear Gern. I'm not sure what's going on. Cannot hear Gern today. I did, but I can't hear him anymore. But I do like that. I'm not sure what kind of tacos those were. Fish tacos, maybe? Something like that. I don't know. They sure look good. They look really, really good. You got to tell me where that is. Tacos on 12. All right, let's spin it again. 2 more to go on our Victorland 777 topic wheel. Oh, there we go. It's at Sawgrass. There you have it. The Players Championship I thought this event was in May. They had it after the Masters. When did they move it back? I heard that watching the Arnold Palmer tournament last weekend. They mentioned they were going to Sawgrass this week. Am I hallucinating here? Did they not move that to May after kind of making it the 5th major? Nonetheless, it is a day away, and that you can get now that you mention that, Gern, I've played that course a couple of times. I do remember the little concession hut there, and I do remember those tacos being available. I do remember that. Yep, there they are. Now it rings a bell. Now it's ringing the bell. All right, let's spin it. We got 2 more to go. Let's see if we can get them in before the day is done. On the Victorland 777 topic wheel. Oh, we got 3 now. No, one of the tacos on 12 are gone. All right, 2 more to go. We're spinning it, and it is going to land on feeling flagrant. Back in my day, they didn't have flagrant fouls. You either just got a foul or you got teed up. There wasn't this F1, F2 business. You just didn't do it. But there was a flagrant foul in the Alabama-Auburn game on Saturday. People upset in Auburn's heartbreaking loss on Saturday. The biggest storyline, though, was senior Chad Baker-Mazzara. Auburn fans furious. Not only Jay Williams said that, and Seth Greenberg, that they needed that Bruce Pearl should suspend Baker-Mazzara for the SEC tournament. Wow. Elbow to the back of the head leads to a suspension. I mean, these are 2 talking heads at ESPN. I mean, they're pretty well known and well respected. This is the 2nd time that it's happened. I don't see that happening. I don't think Auburn fans have anything to worry about. They're trying to win. And you know, in this day and age, you really got to do something bad. Back in my day when you were drug tested and you failed the drug test, you got suspended and you didn't play, but that doesn't happen anymore. Failing out of school, it's all about winning. What about life lessons? All right, let's spin it one more time before the top of the hour. Let's clear the wheel, see if we can get it done today. Man, we are killing it on the Victorland 777 topic wheel today. These are unknown topics, and we are going with Damn Sarnell. I'm going with Sam Darnold. What has Sam Darnold done today? Sam Darnold, $105 million deal. Are you kidding me? Is he worth that? I don't know what's going on in Seattle, but that's a heck of a deal for a guy that, is he one of the top 15 quarterbacks in the NFL? I'm going to have to think about that. I said that about a current NFL quarterback that happens to be playing for Dallas. People questioned me in saying that years ago. Now they're not questioning me anymore because Dak Prescott's not one of the best quarterbacks in the NFL. For some reason, Jerry keeps paying him. All right. I want to thank all of our guests today. Bryan Matthews, AuburnSports.com, Travis Reier on YouTube, Talking Tide, and John Talty from CBSSports.com and 247. Thanks to Gurn Jr. for helping out today with the Victorland 777 topic wheel. We gave you our Phantoms Daily Dog, Arizona State +6, taking on Kansas State in the Big 12 tournament later today. Tomorrow, Barry will be back, so we're looking forward to that, getting his views of Troy winning the Sun Belt tournament and heading to the NCAA tournament when we'll see where they'll go on Sunday. Thanks to our friends at Yellowhammer News and yellowhammernews.com, where you can view our show live each and every morning with a recap every afternoon. Check that out. Also, you can check us out on YouTube, Facebook, X, Instagram, and Spotify. Hit the like button. Hit the subscribe button. We greatly appreciate it. Tell your friends and associates about us. Longshore and McKnight, presented by Bud Light. We'll be back tomorrow. Have a great day, everybody. Thanks for viewing. Thanks for listening.